to our committee meeting, Committee of the Whole. I'd like to welcome you all and then ask also that we go ahead and get the meeting called to order and have roll call.
Hu. Here. Postman.
Here.
Disharum. Posthauser.
Here.
Park.
Here.
Reed. Zawin.
Here.
Okay, can we please all stand for the pledge? I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. We'll now move into the public participation portion of the meeting, and Dr. Parker will begin with the wait a minute, wrong one. We'll now move into the public participation portion of the meeting, and if there's anyone who'd like to address the board at this time, we'd like to welcome you. Anyone who'd like to address the board? All right. All right, seeing no one, we'll go ahead and move into we'll go ahead and conclude the public participation portion and move into the information discussion, and we have a couple presentations for us today. And Mrs. Bond and the counseling staff are going to present about the Dunlap School District Counseling Department. Thank you.
Thank you so much for this opportunity to share the counseling services with you. I would first like to introduce you to our counseling staff. So as I call your name, if you'll wave or stand up, I would appreciate it. We'll start with elementary. We have Jen Bando here. She's at Ridgeview. Over on the side is Jody Centers. She's at Hickory Grove and Banner currently. Lisa Barra is at Hickory Grove and BGS currently. May Abudouli. That says it wild away, sorry. And then we have Terry Patterson from Dunlap Valley. Terry Hadley could not be here tonight, but she's from Dunlap Middle School. And our high school group is Kim Clockengay from the high school. And then we have Celia Love, Carrie Schmidt, Ashley Sainor, and Scott Golding. And they are actually going to take away the presentation, and we're going to start with elementary.
All right. Well, like I said, or Allie said, this is our team back here, and all of these ladies are new to Dunlap this year, and they have just been awesome to have part of our team. They come from a lot of different diverse backgrounds with community agencies and different school districts and different levels of elementary and high school. So they've just had a lot of really great ideas to bring to the table. So I'll go ahead and jump into our services that we provide. If you want to, I think it's like 2 slides over. One of the first questions people ask me when they find out what I do is, what does an elementary counselor do? Which is a great question because a lot of schools don't have elementary counseling services. So I feel like in Dunlap, our students are really fortunate to have comprehensive services K-12. But I think there's kind of a misconception that elementary counselors just sit in their office and do individual counseling all day long. But that's really an outdated model of school counseling. And we really focus on providing a program for all of our students. And it's really hard to provide something for all of our kids if we're just meeting one-on-one all day long. So we really focus a lot of our services on group counseling and classroom lessons. And I'm going to talk a little bit more about that as we go on. But you can kind of read some of the things that we do up there. We're 504 case managers. We help with a lot of the positive initiatives in our school to help build a positive atmosphere in our buildings. We do a ton of teacher and parent collaboration. A day does not go by that I'm not on a phone with a parent or emailing back and forth. Another thing to highlight, though, is we are in charge of those crisis services in our buildings. You may not think that at the elementary level you have students who are suicidal or have ideas of self-harm or do self-harm, but unfortunately we are seeing more of that, I think. And so we spend a significant amount of time with those students, assessing them and helping provide them with the resources they need. And really just walking parents through that. That's not really a phone call any parent wants to have, but especially a student in elementary school. So helping parents get the support that they need moving forward as well. So with our groups and classroom services that we provide, this is definitely not a comprehensive list of all the things that we provide in our buildings, but this is just kind of a hodgepodge of different lessons that we all kind of provide in our buildings, or different groups that we run. Just some things to note, park prep lessons, like currently in our 3rd grade classrooms, we're providing education for all of those 3rd grade students who are about to take park for the very first time, teaching them testing strategies, how to cope with test anxiety. We all provide a group for our 4th and 5th grade girls to teach them about relational bullying and relational aggression and how to handle those situations before moving on to middle school and high school when it gets really a lot nastier than it is in elementary school. But again, each building is a little bit different based on our needs, and I'm going to talk about that in the next slide, but you know, the needs that I have at Bridgeview are very different from Hickory Grove, but the types of services that we're trying to provide are similar in all of our elementary buildings. We're responsible for the Aaron's Law lessons every year, which is the state mandated sexual abuse prevention training that we provide our kiddos. But if you have any questions about any of those things, feel free to ask at the end. So with our group and classroom services, we're really trying to be more data-driven going forward. Some of it is obvious. You know, we build our lessons based off of just the developmental need of a student, but we also like to get feedback from teachers, from administration. We use second step assessment information, best web assessments, but moving forward, especially going one-to-one, we're really looking at building in some more needs assessments. That's been pretty easy to do with teachers already as they have access to Google, but moving forward, we're going to be able to provide needs assessments to students so they can let us know. They can quickly get the link on their Chromebook or whatever they might have, fill out a few questions, and we're going to have just a bank of data to start building our program around what students feel that they need. Another piece of what we do is behavioral RTI, if you want to go to the next slide. Most people are familiar with the academic side of RTI, but there's a whole other side of the triangle where we're trying to support those students who have behavioral needs early on. So we help teachers identify those students. Obviously the teachers know which kids need the support, but for RTI purposes, we need the data. So we help them figure out how to collect that data, how to track that data. We facilitate those meetings and brainstorm interventions for these kids who have really high needs, and oftentimes we're the ones providing that behavioral intervention as well. And then we monitor and we track that student until they're back at that tier 1 level and showing us that behavior that we're expecting to see from them. So that's been a really big piece that I've seen grow over the last 4 years, is that behavioral RTI piece. And lastly, just to reiterate, we're really trying to provide the same type of elementary counseling program in all 5 buildings. It's kind of been a hodgepodge last few years as our team has grown, but as our team expands even next year, adding our 5th counselor, we expect all of the buildings to have the same type of program, and obviously just catering it to the needs of our building. So. And this is a video that we had sent out during National School Counseling Week, which we celebrated this year. If you want pictures or any information about that, just email me, and I've got tons of information. But it's just kind of a snapshot of what some of our staff and students think about the school counseling program. It worked earlier.
We had it in our
Yeah,
board
here
book,
too,
so
yeah.
we had a chance to see it, but not everyone else.
Sorry.
I see it full signal.
So I've had a question for you. Do you foresee with the one-to-one with the students having their devices as that being a tool? I know you said you use it for data.
I've used
but-
it this year as well with one of my girls' book study groups to kind of close out the group. They really felt like they wanted to share that information with their peers, so they all got on a Google Doc. They created a newsletter together, and each student worked from their classroom, wherever they were at, adding information of what they learned onto that Google newsletter, and then they were able to send it out to all the other girls in 5th grade and kind of educate and share with them. And it was just a good way for them to really take ownership of what they learned too. So I see a lot of really, just a lot of potential with that one-to-one moving forward.
I think as we transition into the portion of talking about middle school counseling, I want to let you know that we do meet and talk with the elementary counselors, those feeding into our buildings, as we transition those 5th graders into the middle school. So we will talk about specific students that either Jen or Lisa are concerned about, they will share that with me and you know, so that we are prepared for them. And we do a lot of pre-work and prep for those kiddos coming in so that we have services available to help them if there's any outstanding needs. So I wanted to mention that. Between Terry and myself, it's kind of confusing, two Terrys, but you can refer to me as Terry number 1, since she's not here. But we offer a variety of counseling services at the middle school. We always help out our secretaries at the beginning of the year specifically to get school started. We balance classes and work with teachers' schedules and student schedules and making sure kids are in the right classes. We work with the high school counselors through the process of freshman registration that we're just finishing now, basically, and still getting a few emails here and there. We have daily phone contacts with parents, individual counseling and group counseling. I would say that I am transitioning to more small group counseling than individual, starting to do that more and more. It's a little bit more difficult in the middle school setting, primarily because of their schedules changing so much. You know, the kids, they all are on a different schedule, so it's hard to pull them. So I try to pull them from like PE or a special, not to say that those aren't important, but those are the areas where I can pull them easier from. We certainly help out with the RTI support and the tutoring as a tutoring resource. Celia puts together has put together for us this year a tutoring resource for the district, and then we as counselors use that collectively and share that with parents. We offer support through the Second Step program, parent-teacher consultation, which we do a lot of. We have a lot of, team has been a very important part of our process. We utilize team. We each have a team day, or a day that we go into teams. So Tuesdays is primarily my team day, where I go in and spend time with 6th, 7th, and 8th grade teams, and we talk about kids specifically and their needs and so on. And sometimes that's a great time to have parents come in and consult with them as well. We do Aaron's Law education. Make sure I get the right one. And we do a lot of prep work for summer programs such as NIU and the Bradley program. Summer of Wonder is one that just came up. We kind of make up our own orientation system. We don't have, I do things a little bit differently at middle because it's a little bit smaller environment, but any new student coming in, we have a small orientation for them. I serve, and Terry serves as well, as the 504 coordinator and case manager for all students who are on 504s. We work as the accommodation testing coordinator for students on those plans, and also we work closely with the special education department, specifically on Park, and making sure those things are, you know, our T's are crossed and our I's are dotted on that, because those are very important too. A lot of working with community members as well. I mentioned at last month's board meeting the ability that I've had to network with people such as Carl Cannon and some people from Peoria Park District to bring programs into our schools. We work with Parents Night, and for the incoming 6th graders for next year, we have that set up for the last week of April this year, where we have a Parent Night. And then we talk a lot to 8th graders about their high school choices for classes. So, and still more. We work a lot with new families coming in. We've had several new families just this semester. Classroom presentations. I've done presentations this year on kindness and respect, which are integral parts of our program. We go to workshops for professional development. We work a lot with bully prevention, both in groups and classroom settings, and just daily talking with kids. Character development, cyberbullying, co-teaching, Red Ribbon Week, these are all part of our things. And kids' favorite is Mix It Up at Lunch Day. It's where we assign them lunch tables, and they have to sit with kids that they normally wouldn't sit with at lunch. I love it. It makes for a quiet cafeteria that day, but kids hate it. So I think I mentioned that last month too. I'm going to turn it over to Kim.
Okay, quick question. So
Yes, sir.
on Terry, do you guys do anything with anti-drug and alcohol in any of your stuff with character? I know you do
Absolutely. A lot of that is incorporated in the Second Step program.
Okay.
And also for seventh grade specifically too, in the health curriculum,
Okay.
drugs and alcohol, which I will go in and supplement that with the health teacher as well, but those are embedded in with the.
Okay.
While Kim's moving, Ally, if you want, Renata has a copy of that video if you want to show it when you get done, or however you want to do it. She had a backup copy for you.
Turn my back towards the right side. As you can tell, obviously, there's 5 counselors at the high school. It's really, really nice to have all 5 be the same 2 years in a row. It's been a unique experience the last 5 years to have so much turnover and to be not only taking care of our own kiddos on our own caseload, but we each have specific things on our caseload like AP testing or taking care of the internet and the website to accommodations on tests. But like I said, when there's a lot of changing of counselors, the families aren't real comfortable, so then it just kind of adds on to our caseload. So it's really nice that things have calmed down a little bit, that we can, again, take care of the kids on our caseload and kind of each do that. That's been a nice change. Individual counseling, we do a lot of that. We have students that come in because they want to see us almost, I don't want to say daily, sometimes, but we have people that are upset, and obviously we take care of them individually. We also, I said that we take care of our own caseload. We also help each other out when somebody's obviously not there, so even individually, or if somebody's sick, or I happen to come in early, we kind of help each other out when the other person's not available. Drama, de-escalation, student mediation doesn't happen every single day, but it is frequent with 1,300 students. Teacher-parent administration, consultation, even when administrators stay pretty constant. I mean, we have parents obviously asking us for assistance for various reasons, whether their students have difficulty or they just kind of want to know what's going on for the future of their student. Teachers come in, maybe not daily, but at least weekly to ask for advice. We also, the 5 of us, ask each other for advice almost daily, whether it be a situation with a student, so we tag team each other very well. We all have expertise in different areas, whether it be somebody's first year in counseling, they have a different perspective. They certainly have energy and experience to the table, to 20-some years experience, to somebody else who's maybe done it for 5 to 10 and have worked in other buildings. So it's nice to kind of have that mix. Daily phone calls and emails. I'm not even sure a half hour goes by that we don't have phone calls or emails. Manage students, working with correspondence. I'd love to say we didn't have students who fail classes, but we do. And so obviously we work with them on American School. Illinois Virtual School is also for failures, but it's also for students that want to work ahead in math to try to get that calculus as a senior in case they didn't start out in geometry as a freshman. Keystone, again, same thing. Dual credit classes, we offer a handful, which is fantastic, but there is a lot of correspondence that needs to happen with ICC, and so obviously we make sure that parents and families get that information and make sure the dual credit teachers are well informed. We do monitor progress through graduation. I'd love to say everybody's going to graduate this May, but that's not the case. We'll see what we can do here at the end of the year and help motivate them. Monitoring students at risk academically. It's really nice to see those students, especially as freshmen, if they don't do fantastic and maybe fail a class or two, to really pick it up and see that maturity. So some students are a little bit slower learners on that. They're juniors and seniors and still working, but again, they keep us busy. Just last week I had a student that was thinking of self-harming, so again, it doesn't happen every week, but we certainly go through the suicide threat assessments. We are the liaisons with the hospital homebound students, depending on how long they're there, and if there's tutoring services, which there usually is. RTI support for tutoring resource. It's really nice in our master schedule to have the language arts RTI study halls and math. It doesn't always jive or work out, but frequently it does. Track and analyze SEL data. I know that Carrie Schmidt analyzes that, and then we also parents are so busy with their kids in extra activities that we were trying to piggyback when they were gonna be here anyway. So try to make a special 45-minute to an hour presentation of everything your kids should know or don't tell you. This last fall, we went ahead and talked a lot more about SAT, along with a bunch of other things like career cruising. We try to really push that so parents and families are aware of the opportunities for that. Website management, Celia Love does a fantastic job on that. I bet we get scholarships probably every week that she's putting on. We try not to take any off so that sophomores and juniors can kind of look to see what scholarships there are so that next year when they plan on actually applying for them, they at least have an idea of timelines and what might be available. Mary's Law, like I said, is part of our quarterly meetings to make sure all the students get that information. Final exams, life happens, and sometimes students are not available, and so we are the go-to people, make sure we've got documentation. If students can readjust and that we can have them take their finals during the alternate time we do. If not, we're the ones that get to administer those. We present at awards night every May and graduation, reading names, trying to get students where they need to be so that happens. Award ceremonies honoring students' achievement. Tomorrow, I'm very blessed to be able to attend with one of my seniors who is representing Dunlap High School for the Prescott Bloom at Barracks tomorrow for lunch. So it's nice to see the kids awarded and celebrated for their achievements. Professional development, anything from SAT training to, I was going to say, ACT training. And we just go to various workshops throughout the year. ICC always has one to share a little bit of information as far as what students can expect at the community colleges and new opportunities and changes too. I guess I don't have to read everything to you, but it's nice to maybe have a little bit more explanation and everything. Scheduling classes and registration takes a while. We actually start in November and we present to each grade level so that all 300-ish, 320 get the same information, and then students have approximately a week to a week and a half to take that home with their parents. They can register online, and we make parents sign off on the form, and then we make the students meet with us individually. Some are very good about knowing what their strengths and weaknesses are and what their goals are. Others need a little bit more help. So we make sure that we get that. If we don't kind of agree with those or feel like there's something that's not quite right, we hand it back and say, we'll see you in a couple days. There's some things you might need to talk to your parents about. Balancing classes each semester. We do our darndest to make sure one class isn't at 30 and another one's at 16. Every once in a while, there's some last minute changes with personnel, and it happens, so we try to be as flexible as we can and make that work in the master schedule. We consult with teachers and parents regarding course selection. What we try to do at the end of, after we've seen all the students, is to kind of send out a list of all the teachers, have them triple check. I kind of call it kind of a counter check and balance to make sure, like when you do your checkbook, if you subtract it, everything jives, everything works out. We always have some, I'm not sure we agree with this, so we try to get teachers' input and see those students that maybe the teacher isn't on board with the recommendation, just to make sure there's more conversation with the parents and the student, make sure that's really what they want to take. Some students are planners. They want to know way in advance. So freshman year, they want that 4-year tentative plan. We are more than willing to do that with them. Like to make sure they know it's not carved in stone. It's just an approximate. Not everybody's ready for that. Some students can barely fill out their schedule for the next year. So everybody's a little bit different. We do maintain records and transcripts. We do ask. We started a couple years ago using Parchment. It's an online system. It's free to the students until they graduate. And then I want to say they might have to pay up to $4 to send their transcripts, but it's immediate. It's summer break. That way the parents have some ideas of what the students might want to sign up for. The students have seen the form, so I think it's really worked out well. Registering new families to the district. Every week or two, we get new families during the summer. Sometimes they're just kind of school shopping. Other times they live in the district and they're coming, and so we get anything in between. Sometimes realtors come with, sometimes they don't. It just kind of depends. And then new students transition. We definitely, when they come to register, obviously we look through records to make sure that their class selection is along the same lines of what they've taken, you know, what they want to go into. So it does take some time. Some records come a little faster than others. So certainly assist with college applications, common application. We write letters of recommendation for many, many seniors. We have letters of recommendation that we not only send to schools, we put up on the Common App. We have a process, and so we have a form we've developed over the years that we have all seniors fill out if they'd like to get a letter of recommendation. Some students are so motivated they started as juniors at the end of junior year, so they've got the summer. That's fine. We try not to push, but we certainly have it out there. We've kind of developed that and changed that over the years so that now they can also type it online, so it's not quite so cumbersome to have them type it or to have them handwrite it out. We definitely promote scholarships, local and national. Like I said, Celia Love makes sure that when we get information, she puts it up right away. We used to, years ago, have paper copies of the scholarships. It worked out okay at the time, but with everything being online, you know, sometimes students also don't have a lot of extra time. We have a lot of students with early release, they're in activities, they're in Scholastic Bowl, you name it, and they just don't have the free time like they used to. So they can look online anytime they want to. Parents can look online for those students that maybe aren't quite as motivated. So I think Celia's going to show us a little bit later where to find that. Again, we try not to take scholarships off because we have younger students who want to know what to look for the next year. Financial aid night, that's been interesting. We've always had it, well, not this past year, but before that, December and January, because families had to do their taxes first, so anytime between January, really, and February, March. But they just started with this year's senior class, what they call prior. So instead of having financial aid night December, January, we had to push it back to September, which seemed absolutely crazy, but October 1st was when families could start filling out the FAFSA. So obviously we are adjusting to what's happening. Lindsay Cheney does our financial aid night from Bradley, and so I think that's been a good presentation for our families. College and career resources, we definitely have those for students to borrow. Like I said, we've got information on the website. Student scheduling, students sign up for college and military reps. It used to be college reps would come during lunch. That wasn't super successful because if you remember when you're in high school, you kind of like to eat and hang out with your friends for at least 25 minutes of the day. So we really encourage college reps to come during what we call our homeroom or advisory time. So that's from 10 to 10:30, 4 days a week. It doesn't happen on Wednesdays, but that's really been great. College reps are here for a shorter amount of time, but it's much more concentrated. They appreciate it. It was really tough for them to justify being here for an hour and a half and seeing 1 or 2 students maybe that might be interested in their school. This way students hear about it on the announcements. It's on the website. They know when college reps are coming. They know which college reps are coming, and they can sign up in advance so the college rep knows who's there to see them. So that's really been great. Provide information regarding college visit opportunities. We always encourage families to go when we don't have school, so breaks, holidays. Sometimes some of the top, more competitive schools on the East Coast might be in either Champaign or Indianapolis. We try to always encourage, rather than have a student have to fly all the way to the East Coast, maybe go ahead and see them when they're in the Midwest, and we definitely try to encourage that for families. And then promote college fairs. In October, ICC has always had a college fair at Bradley University this March, March 2nd. This is the second year for the annual college fair, so we definitely try to put that on the announcements and encourage students to attend. Career exploration through field trips and Explorer programs, absolutely. Some of those, it's interesting, once we get a couple students to sure if they're not listening on the announcements, but it's nice. We've had some manufacturing programs, some real hands-on, some with CAT, some with other companies, definitely with nursing. But yes, we try to make sure that students who are interested in certain career fields get that information. Perfect work-based learning. I know we used to have about 5 programs. Now they've cut it down to 2, but at least we still have those 2 for the students. It's health occupations for nursing, and then for those students interested in construction. We used to have automotive and a couple others, and again, just they were no longer available for students in the Peoria area. So, College and Career Awareness Month. I want to say this is the 2nd year that we've had that, and we try to make sure that we get the entire faculty involved. Teachers decorate their doors. We try to encourage them on Fridays. Of course, we like to wear maroon and gold. We like to support the sports, but we also try to throw in a little bit for faculty to represent their college that they attended, or even the career maybe that they started in before they were here. So try to put some fun facts on the announcements and give prizes for awards for that. Testing coordinators, we've been given the ACT. It's interesting that this presentation is tonight because I didn't solicit it, but ACT sent me a memo at about 2:30 today, just mentioning that we've administered the ACT. Dunlap High School has since 1997. Approximately 4,426 students have tested at this center. So at Dunlap High School, it says for the December 2016, about 173 students registered, 173 students scores were reported. About 9% of those students come from underserved learner populations. It's not just our students, but anybody can sign up to take it. We're a national test site. They also mentioned that 89 colleges and universities across 28 different states have received ACT scores from students who have taken them here. And again, it's not just Dunlap students, but I'm proud that we're a site that the students go to. Our numbers are definitely up. We abide by ACT's rules and regulations, so whether they're our students or somebody else's students, we treat them all the same. We do have people that fill in bubbles after time is called and their scores are invalid. We escort them out the door, but we treat everybody the same, and it's nice to know that we've been a good, positive testing site for a lot of kids in the Peoria area. Again, we've been offering AP testing for a very long time. Certainly those numbers have gone way up since I started here 20-some years ago, and so much so that it takes all 5 of us and then some to try to make things happen in May. SAT, this will be the first year that we've been a test site for it, obviously with the state mandated SAT during the school year. We'll see after a couple years if Illinois still chooses to have the SAT or ACT. We'll just kind of see how that goes. We do counsel students explaining test results. We try to be very sensitive as far as students' abilities. So scores for one student are fantastic. Another student that would be very poor. So we try not to make general statements. We try to just tell them it kind of depends on the student. Apply for grants and assist students with college and career pursuits. We tried a couple different years in a row to use Naviance. It didn't quite work out. I know we worked closely, our department worked closely with Perfect to try to see what would happen. So we're still using career cruising at this point. We are, just like all the rest of the counselors in the district, 504 coordinators, case managers. We attend IEP meetings. Just like Terry Patterson mentioned, she and Terry Hadley work closely with the elementary counselors for students coming in. They do a great job inviting us and making sure we're aware of incoming freshmen and their needs also. Yes, we consult with special ed teachers, and Ashley Senior is the accommodations coordinator for all testing, standardized testing in the building. Definitely try to make sure that there's appropriate supports for students' needs. In fact, we have some students, obviously, that maybe need some extra things that we try out first. Teachers are usually pretty good to work with. If things aren't, plan A is not working, we try plan B and try to see if something else will work. Accommodations, of course, again, Ashley Senior is the accommodations coordinator for national testing, for the standardized testing in the building, and then try to advocate for students. Do we want to try this? Do we have time to show you what's on the high school website?
One of the things that you all interest in was a tour of the Dunlap High School counseling website. So Celia, if there's time.
Yeah, sure.
would be
Yeah,
happy to go through.
I can just go through kind of quickly. So the first page that you see is the counseling announcements. So these are just kind of whatever has happened most recently. This LGBTQ prom flyer is just something that's happening at ICC, so I threw it up there for the next couple of weeks. An announcement about SAT, and then this is the most recent kind of meeting we've had with students, which was when we explained the PSAT results. So that's why those are there on the home page. Under the counseling announcements are some FAQs, important links, a lot of testing links. A lot of this stuff, the FAQs and the links are found in other places in the website, but those are just kind of places you can go real quickly to see. New student information is just kind of a little welcome to students coming to the school, and then information on who their counselor is and how to contact them. And then the all-important link to the student handbook. Not link, but PDF that's available there. Under academics, we have the information about class registration, which has information about when we met with students and then when their registrations are due. Also a link to the student handbook and course offerings. A copy of the 4-year plan they can print out, information about graduation requirements, information about applying to ICC for students who are going there after their senior year, as well as for students who need to apply there in terms of dual credit. How to get cheaper textbooks, because who doesn't want to know that information. And then some other information about NCAA eligibility. Class meetings. The quarterly meetings that we have with each of the classes, we send out the PowerPoints to parents after we meet with the students, but I also post them up here. So this has the day that we met with the student, a brief description, and then you can actually flip through each of the PowerPoints that we have presented. So those were the first 2 senior meetings, and the same juniors and so on. Juniors we tend to meet with a little more than, looks like I need to fix that one. Juniors we tend to meet with, I think, even more than quarterly, just because there's so much information that juniors tend to need. College and career, this is where I would say the bulk of the information is. Apprenticeship programs, so obviously there's a lot of options out there for kids who are not 4-year college bound. And anytime I get information about work programs, like this one at Lakeland College, that's not necessarily an apprenticeship program, but it is a post-secondary option for a student who may not necessarily be 4-year college bound. Lots of information there. The most recent one that we've gotten is the Supreme Radio Communication. So there's links to like the PDFs if they send me the flyers. If they have a website that's easily accessible and takes you right to where the information is, I'll just put in the website, but a lot of times I'll do the PDF. It will eventually load, I hope. Yeah, so there is what was sent to me in the mail. Okay, career cruising, this is just a link to the career cruising site and telling students how to get on there. College visits, this is the most updated list of colleges that are coming here. There's also some links to some virtual tours. And while this isn't the best quality, this is just a flyer that I had found about questions to ask an admissions counselor. So just some resources there. The Explorers program, again, just some easy information for students to find and some PDFs. Letters of recommendation, that's a link to our senior rec form, which is what we ask all the students to fill out. And then timelines and checklists. These are, what do I need to be doing and when do I need to do it? So important points to hit for each grade level. And a lot of this is stuff that we would cover probably within our first quarterly meeting, but this is always a good reference and something for students and parents to check maybe ahead of time. So a parent of a 9th grader may want to check out the whole list and be thinking ahead. These college application checklists and the Rising College Freshman checklists, again, are resources that we didn't create, but that I found, and so I put links up there to them as well. And then financial aid, information on FAFSA, a link to the FAFSA.ed.gov site, a warning that they should not be paying anything for their FAFSA, and then some additional articles that may be helpful that we got from our ISAC rep. Just some more information about the Illinois Student Assistance Commission. Scholarships. So here is I apologize if I'm going fast, I'm just trying to cover it all. This is the file that I maintain. So these are scholarships that I receive direct information about. So we've got the name, the criteria, the amount of the award, the due date, and then again, a link either to the website itself or to a PDF like what I had shown you just recently. They are in order from, the earliest due date. So at this point in the year, students do need to scroll through it, but I do, like Kim said, I like to leave it up there because I like them to know what's out there. So, so what's coming up right now here at the end of the month, there's some local, the Dunlap Ken and Judy Sunderland Scholarship, which we've been pushing for students. As these come due, we put them on the announcements. We put them on the TVs that have rotating announcements on them as well. That's just some information about Project Purple, and it has a link from the video of the presenter that came last year. Request transcripts, that's a link to the Parchment website, and then student opportunities. Again, a lot of our students will do community service in order to receive credit or in order to work towards valedictorianship. So I maintain a similar document like what I've shown you for all the other ones that include the opportunity, the website, any relevant information, and contact information. So that's there for students. Illinois Premier Boys State is a really great opportunity for junior boys that I think Dunlap has been underrepresented in, so we've really made a push for that. I think we went from many years of 0 kids to 1 kid to last year 10 boys went, and this year I have 15 applications for boys to go there. A list for school clubs, because we know we want students to get involved there, especially freshman year.
I have a question. Is there a girls' state?
There is a girls' state. It is not run quite the same as Boys State, and it's not pushed as much. Boys State kind of reached out to us and said, as many kids as you can get, we'll find scholarships for. And so I looked into Girls State as well, and I called the Legion, and they were kind of more like, yeah, we could probably find $200 to send one girl. And so it just was not as open of an opportunity, and I wasn't quite sure how to push it to find one junior girl when we could find 15 junior boys. Does that make sense?
Girls can certainly go. We, Dunlap High School, did not say we are going to finance 10 to 15 kids. The Legion did.
Right.
And so no organization has come to us and said, we'll finance Girls State. So
Yeah.
But if people wanted to pay themselves? they
Yes,
absolutely
absolutely.
could.
Yeah, absolutely. And that is, if you do the Boys State link, it does link to the Girls State as well. Just as far as us to push it and to kind of get excitement over it, I didn't want to create a whole bunch of excitement and then just have one girl that we could maybe send, if that makes sense.
So that's been on the announcements too. But
Okay.
We just haven't hey, we've got
Yeah,
one more.
it just doesn't have as
So
much
interested, yeah.
push behind it as the Boys State does. And I think that's more from the Legion side of it. The Men's Legion has a bigger backing, for lack of a better word. Okay, and then student opportunities, again, another similar document. This is broken down college fairs and open houses. So coming up is Discover ICC. They have a spring open house. Both Methodist and the St. Francis Schools of Nursing have open houses. Career programs, so this is the St. Ambrose has a physical therapy doctorate program where you go into the program as a freshman and then it's a 5-year program. There are tons of summer camps and summer colleges available throughout the summer. These are, again, pretty much just the ones that contact us directly that I put on there. But there's a ton of information, job openings, and then other opportunities that I'm not quite sure how to organize other than these are just other opportunities. So a lot of stuff for kids to do in the summer. And again, those go on the announcements and then testing information, how to sign up for the test. The links for all of the tests are on there. Some information about ACT and SAT prep options that are available outside of the school building. We do have NHS tutors who tutor during homeroom. And then this is the list that Terry made mention of. We have a couple of different, these are people from the community who have offered their services for tutoring. This is the list of district tutors, and it has their name and their contact information, their subjects, the grades they're available to teach, and then when they are available to tutor as well. So that is what's on the high school counseling website.
Any questions about the counseling program?
Lots of good information. I mean, there's so much out there for parents. Are the parents aware that the counseling has their own website? Like when they come to do the conferencing, like 8th grade, when they're coming into high school, do the parents find out then that this resource is available?
I don't know if we mentioned it at 8th grade night.
I think we did.
Did,
I think anytime we have a captive audience, we try to also mention the website.
Okay.
and when we meet with the students, we try at least once a year for each grade level to show them exactly how to, because they just go to the high school website and they click on departments and they go to counselors. So we try to physically show them. We can't get all 300 on a computer at the same time, but we try to show them so that then they can do it on their own. We've tried things over the last couple of years, and at the end of every year, we kind of reevaluate, like, did this work? Last year, we got all the juniors on career cruising, and then we said, okay, when you saw your juniors later in the year, when you asked them, have you been on it lately? Any of them said they have. We're trying to get them excited about it. The October meeting with parent-teacher conferences, we try to, again, show parents. Sometimes it's the first time they've been to that meeting, and so they're super excited. It's new information in them, and other times they've been on it before. So we try to push it. We try to.
At our level, if I get parents of 8th graders specifically saying, what am I going to have to do freshman year, what kinds of things, I will refer them to that website.
Okay. Yeah, that's just a great resource. I just want to make sure that the parents know it's there so that, when they're reaching to the point where the kids going to high school and they have all the questions, they at least know they can always click on there and look for some of that.
Yeah, it's pretty comprehensive.
Yes.
I have one.
Go ahead.
Okay, I have one question. How we identifying the student who need help?
How are we identifying students
Yeah.
who need help?
They may not come to counselor if they have trouble or need some help. They may not come from their side to come to us to seeking help. So are we actively identifying kids in trouble?
Thank you for asking. We have a lot of different avenues. Sometimes teachers email us and say, please see so-and-so today.
Okay.
Whether it was evident to the entire class or just that teacher knows that student. Sometimes parents email us and say, student's having a rough time. Sometimes friends come in and say, we're really concerned about one of our classmates.
Okay.
So obviously, if none of those happen and the student doesn't come in either and grades are good, we wouldn't know to see students. And
Right.
that's why we purposely, when we register students, sometimes things seem just fine. And so if students, again, there's no outside inclination that there's a concern, at the very least, a student has to see us once a year. Some students we see once a month, some students I think I see once a Students can also sign up in C1 to come see us, and like you said, they may not, and that's okay. But we have other avenues too that we hear things. Sometimes even just a parent of a different student lets us know there might be a concern.
When you identified the at-risk students, the 91 students that ID, did that bring to light some students that maybe you weren't aware of? Or were they already on your radar?
The ones on my part of the alphabet were already on my radar, and that's okay. It's just a good reminder to see them again.
Scott, so my daughter graduated and she was involved in Project Purple. How's that program going?
It's been good. This year, I think it's been a lot of structural things. We have a website now. Every member has a bio, which is really cool. We've developed committees, did some homecoming activities, did a dodging for drugs, dodgeball tournament again. So yeah, I think we meet roughly every couple weeks. Just depends kind of like on the time of the school year. This year, or right now, they're doing a lot with the prom fashion show, so it's been monthly for maybe like the last couple months, but it's good. I think it's building upon what we did last year, and we should be picking out new leadership here soon. So good.
Okay.
Okay, any other questions? Thank you so much. Thank you very much for sharing your information with us. And our next presentation is going to be Mrs. Baumann and Dr. Parker are going to bring us information about the climate survey results.
As you know, we gave the survey a few months ago, and it took a couple months to get our results back. And we're very pleased with the results that we got, both at a building level and a district level. So we're going to give you just a high-level overview, and really the main work is being done really at the building level right now with our principals and their instructional leadership teams. But we just have a short presentation for you.
Right, so we're going to walk through some of the different data that was brought up, and I guess I wanted to preface everything. You think about school climate. Well, why is school climate so important? What's our purpose in giving this? I mean, it's really a very comprehensive survey. And so it made me think back to, and I'm sure you could all remember a time in your childhood when there was either a teacher who you felt very comfortable with, or maybe uncomfortable with, or somebody who vividly stands out, whether good or bad. And so it's those types of memories that kids remember. It's those types of things that stick in their heads. And so that's why I guess this climate data is so important and so valuable to take a look at, because those are the things that our students are going to remember about us and that our families remember. So with that, we'll get into some of the information here. I'm not sure what's going on with my mouse. It doesn't want to work, but we'll work our way through this. So the benefits of the CSCI, the Comprehensive School Climate Inventory, is that it really engages lots of different community members and stakeholders, and in a protected manner. Everything that was turned in was anonymous, so we don't know who turned in what, but it gives us some good perspective. It also helps us to see the different subgroup areas, and it really, when you take a look at the building data, it breaks everything down into the different subgroups, so you can really drill down and get deep, and that's what the building instructional leadership teams are currently working on. Obviously, it points out different areas of strength, but then also areas where we can grow and improve, and we definitely have some of each that were pointed out to us in this survey that we're going to get a little further into. And then gives us a baseline of data, and this is important for us this year because we had redone our strategic plan last year, and in taking a look at the balanced scorecard, we have some new measures that relate specifically to this survey. So this year is really giving us that baseline data that then from there we'll be able to see what areas we can grow and improve on, or in, I should say. So with this survey, and I think we had shared some of this before, but there are different dimensions or different areas that are addressed. So there's safety is a major one, and I won't read through everything underneath that. Teaching and learning, obviously key to us here in the education world, so that's a key component that we're taking a look at. Interpersonal relations, the institutional environment, social media is a component, and then there were two indicators that are just staff only, and that's the leadership and the professional relationships. So students and parents were not surveyed on those two areas. That was just strictly to staff. This is really just another chart of this, and obviously we're not going to read through all of this, but as we're going through and taking a look at the different areas of strength or areas to improve upon, this is the rationale or the explanation behind it. The one, I mean, they all give very good indicators or descriptions of what they are, but like social media, for example, relates to the sense that students feel safe from physical harm, verbal abuse, teasing, gossip, all those sorts of online bullying things. And so it all relates back to that climate component. So this is kind of the go-to to come back to if you're unsure of something, what exactly it's asking about. This is a good slide to come back to. So the one thing before we put the survey out is we really wanted to talk about response rates. The CSCI, the company, recommends that really with parent responses, you shoot for a response rate of 40%. You wouldn't want to set a goal of anything less than 30%. And you can see we were pretty close to or above that in most areas. We do definitely have some room for growth there when it comes to some schools specifically under the parent response. I'm way over on the right now. I'm kind of working my way backwards there. But you can see where the different schools came in their parent responses there. With staff and student response, they say you really want to aim to get as high as you can. No less than 85% would be the target there. And we were pretty close to meeting that there. A couple areas we were a little low in, so we can improve upon that also. But for the most part, really, we hit those response rates. But I guess that's important to make sure you're getting good input from people if we're going to be using this data.
And just a note on the parent responses, last time that we did 5 essentials, we had to struggle to get 20%. So although we didn't hit the 40 in every.
So did Waz or Wade do something special to get the parent response rate up so high?
Not that I'm aware
Or
of.
did Stacy
but
kind of make sure?
I think they did a lot at parent-teacher conferences, from what I understand, but.
And then just made sure people were aware of it, at least fill it out kind of deal?
Yeah.
She must have done something special, I would think.
You mean for staff response, not student?
I think
not
they
parent.
were
On
highly
parent
encouraged.
response.
71.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
oh, I was up above, sorry.
I think they were really hounding
They
their
were,
parents at
yeah.
parent-teacher conferences. They had some people
Yeah.
who were very persistent about, have you taken our survey yet? We really want you to take our survey. They were very,
It would be nice if everybody does it.
exactly.
Did
Yeah.
they have
Whatever they
computers
did,
set up?
it'd be
Yeah.
nice to get
For
us.
the
Yeah,
parents to do
and
it?
I think every building did. We
Oh, did
talked
they?
about that ahead of time. Every building had a place where parents could take
They
it
did.
at parent-teacher conferences. It was just a matter of, whether or not people stopped and took it, or they went home and did it.
It'd be nice to figure out what Wilder Wade did, and let's copy that.
They hounded them.
Yes.
And then did the students do it in school?
Mhm.
Was there a
Correct.
time like
Yeah.
homeroom where
Yes.
I said, because that's a
Mhm.
high
Yeah.
response? Okay.
Yes. And then staff did it during a PLC or a staff meeting. They set up some time for them to sit down and do that as well. So this is a lot of data. It's a little overwhelming to take a look at, and we're pretty general in our data here tonight. But it breaks down, we took the average of all of our elementary schools, the middle schools, and the high school. And one thing that was important when we were looking at all the results that came back, they said it is typical for middle and high school students to display lower scores across the dimensions. That's very common, and it makes sense. Your elementary students are they're at a different level in their educational experience, so you're gonna get a different response from them. As a reminder, it was students in grades 3 through 12 who took the survey. And you can see here when you're taking a look at this, the safety rules and norms were a pretty high one. The physical surroundings, the school connectedness and engagement was a higher one. And social support, those were all perceived pretty positively by the students across the district, really regardless of level. A key area that we identified here for potential improvement at all 3 levels would be the sense of social emotional security. That was probably the area that was the lowest there, and that we need to really dig into and figure out at each level why that was the lowest, and then create action plans for how that can be addressed when it comes to the student level. And then we have the exact same thing here for staff. Staff too were all similarly clustered around similar areas. Some of the feedback as I was going deeper into the surveys talked about really, typically most of the scores fell on or above a 4.0 on the graph. And I meant to point out earlier, the positive responses are worth the 5 points. if it wasn't clear to anybody, and the lower responses would have been worth
And
the
again, when
lower.
was this taken?
Staff?
The survey, yeah.
In the buildings.
No, when, what?
Oh, I'm sorry, in October.
Okay.
October, late October, early November was the window.
And
Of
can we
time.
get a copy of the results of the whole thing?
You
Individual
can, it is
questions?
very extensive reading,
Okay.
but you definitely could if you so choose and would
Okay.
like a copy of
I'm
that.
kind of a survey nerd, so.
I would say it's each building, the condensed version is a minimum of 50 pages.
You don't want each building, you just want the
Yeah,
district
just the
overview.
district.
Absolutely,
Yeah, sure.
we can get you that.
Yeah, thanks.
Not a problem.
So is it best to do this in early part of the year, or what's the thought behind this? It seems like,
We chose to do it
yeah.
intentionally at that time of the year because of what we talked about earlier. We wanted to have it available to parents at parent-teacher conference time, so that if parents didn't have access at home or wanted to do it while they were at school, they would have that opportunity to. So that was part of the reason we chose to do it at that time of year.
And we'll
I
also
think
turn
that-
around and have goals for next year addressing some of these issues that may be a little lower.
well, I was just kind of looking at the leadership from the staff from the high school, kind of maybe jumping ahead a little bit, but Scott was just in here.
Exactly, yeah.
I mean, so that's.
Yeah.
But I bet that's why it was higher participation, don't you think? Because you did it at the,
Oh, absolutely.
With
Yeah,
parents?
absolutely,
Yes.
yeah.
the parent night.
And that's the only time, yeah.
But yes, that is something to take into
Yes.
consideration with the high school data, because it was very fresh.
Scott made that clear to me. Several times.
Yeah, and that was probably, when it came to the staff scores, the social emotional, like I said, was the lowest, and the social media was the other one that was a little lower. If you go back to the previous slide, though, you'll see that that does align with what the student perceptions were. So it's while we're looking at these separately right now, there are correlations that can be made between the different groups. And then leadership and professional relations were some higher scores there. Overall, though, staff reported very positive attitudes and relationships amongst themselves, and their support as far as working together and with groups within the school. Those scores were relatively high. And then there's also data on the scores by the parents. The parents who did participate felt very positive about the safety rules and norms. Sense of physical security was another high one, surroundings, school connectedness, respect for diversity, and social support. Those scores were typically, again, clustered around that 4 points there, so there's some room for growth, but they were around the same area there. Some of the DHS parents were outliers in some of these when you really dig into the scores. Again, the lowest score was that sense of social emotional security, which again converges and goes back and is the same as the staff and the students were. So that definitely points out that that's an area we want to take a look at, like I said, and create those action plans for. And this is really the same thing, but it's just overall, combining everything together, the students, the staff, and the parents. And again, remember those leadership and professional relationships were just taken by the staff. One thing that you do notice here is that the staff responses are generally more positive or noticeably more positive compared to students and parents, but they said this is a common trend when giving this survey. This slide actually this chart takes the relative dimension ratings for the three populations, and it takes the aggregate data across the district. And so highlighted on here in the pink are the three highest rated dimensions. School community was actually the one that people were most concerned about when you take a look at the social media one down there at the very bottom. And so that's really talking about teasing and harassment that can occur either in the building or outside of the building on social media. So that corresponds with the other scores there as well. So really, in summarization, just listed out the areas that were strengths. The safety rules and norms was a very strong strength, and I guess safety's got to be number one. If you're going to be able to get anything else accomplished, we want that to be strong. So that's a great sign to see that there. The social support for adults was a strong one. Respect for diversity and social support among students was strong, and the support for learning But then the areas that we can really work on to improve based off of this data was just the sense of social emotional security for all, the social media for all, and then when you break down for middle and high school levels, the physical security, social and civic, that was an area that was relatively lower compared to some of the other scores. Again, nothing that was extremely low in my mind that I would say, oh my goodness, we really need to be concerned about this, but those are areas for potential growth.
That last one, sense of physical security, and then social and civic. What does social and civic mean? Is that kind of a separate category, or is it talking about, I was just confused by the wording on that one.
Yep, when you get into it and taking a look at it, they're talking about knowledge, skills, and dispositions, effective listening, conflict resolution, problem solving, emotional regulation, empathy.
So it's really physical security, comma, social and civic?
Yes.
Okay, I didn't know if it was describing it. I understand now.
So really what our building instructional leadership teams are currently doing is diving deeper into their building level data and creating action plans. One of the things that we've asked each of them to do is in their SIP planning for next school year. One goal is going to come directly out of this survey based off of their building data. So they'll take a look at what areas they feel their building needs to work on most and can create an SIP plan and action plan related to that so that it ties directly back to our district mission and vision and our strategic plan there. We are obviously taking some of the district level data to update our balanced scorecard. That'll be shared with you at the next update in June once we have all of our end of year testing data and all of that. So you'll get a chance to see some of that data plugged into there coming up in the next couple of months. So that's all the information I had for you, but what questions?
So I got, the social media, it seems to me that's kind of a survey question that really is tough for us to control, to really implement. And- right?
I think we have to be
I mean, there's a lot of things that kids outside the school, I mean, how do you improve that score? You don't control them 24/7.
No, you can't, but I think part of it is being proactive and looking at, I see in correlation with what we're doing with one-to-one. We just had a meeting last week. We're talking a lot about different ways that you're going to put in place, I'm going to say classroom management, and that's the wrong term that I'm looking for.
Safety.
Yes, just the internet safety and the different things that we're going to be teaching kids about that. We talked about at our upcoming SIP day, talking about different ground rules.
Digital citizenship.
Thank you.
Yeah.
That was the term I was searching for. Digital citizenship. So teaching kids those responsible uses of those things so that it carries over, obviously, outside of the school. Will it ever be 100% perfect? No.
That's
but
tough, yeah.
it's something we can always strive to continue to work at.
Go ahead, Mrs. Clark.
I know it's not part of ours, but I know when we counselors do presentations for each of the grade levels, we not only talk about Aaron's Law and physically being safe, but we really, in our home, like you said, we don't have control what they do out of the building. We really try to make them think about what's appropriate to put out there electronically, and what's not, and how it stays with them when they're applying for jobs and college apps. We really try to make sure they're very aware of what they put out there. Being inappropriate doesn't just go away. So again, they can do what they want to, but we try to make sure they're aware at each of the grade levels that this can be a positive thing to promote and, be positive with each other. And then there's things that just aren't, shouldn't be done.
I think it's touched on a little bit with the athletic code violations. I think they touch on just like inappropriate behavior.
Okay.
And so I'm
Sure.
sure the coaches probably do some of that too, because that could lead to something.
I think it's, as a parent, we had to watch, I'm pretty sure that's part of the
Video.
video code that
Yeah.
athletes and parents have to watch. I'm pretty
To
sure
get the gold card. I know there's a piece that ties into just the behavior part of it, and so that could affect them in their sport or club or whatever. So that's another opportunity to have some connection that the school has a little bit of control.
Just another conversation about it.
Absolutely.
The certain area and questions is all defined by CSCI, or is it customized for our school?
The questions are pretty general to CSCI. We had a couple of questions that were specific to us that we needed specific data for on the balanced scorecard. Were there 3, if I remember correctly?
2 or 3.
questions that we had customized to us.
Which ones were those?
I can get that to you.
No, not now, but I just.
Yeah,
Trying to think.
the district leadership team. No, that one wasn't on there, that one's on the next one.
I don't know.
I'd have
off
to go
the
back
top
and
of
look
my
them
head.
up.
You felt the survey was good information though, to take back
Oh,
and
yeah.
be able to use
Mhm.
going forward toward working with the goals and
Yes,
things we can address.
absolutely.
Yes.
Quick question, did we make that survey or did somebody else?
Somebody else did.
The only reason I ask, I filled it out as a parent at parent-teacher conferences and it was long.
Yes.
It was not, it was longer than any survey I've ever filled out before and I was getting a little frustrated at the end.
Yeah.
Thinking it should be no more than 10 to 15 minutes and it kept going. So,
Probably about 20, right?
depending on
Yeah,
frequency.
I agree.
Was a lengthier survey, yes. But does provide some good data for us.
Did you feel like there was enough on academics?
I feel like we have so much academic data. I don't know that we need additional, I mean, there's enough on the culture piece of it, yes. We have so much data when it comes from different assessments that I feel we have enough there to give us what we need.
So do you think it's plausible to break out Valley and Middle just because they got,
We have that.
Yeah,
that'd be kind of interesting to see their scores because they do have the different teaching issue,
to
standard
see the
base.
comparables, yeah, we could definitely do that.
We've done that
But it was so
administratively,
early
but
in the
not at the
year.
building level.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, next year,
Oh, next year.
it would be interesting to see the dynamics between the two and the leadership and
Mhm.
it broken out to see how that looks rather than lumping them all together.
Mhm.
At least those two, I think those are big. Looks like elementary just is off the charts all the way across the board, so.
Very good. Any
Yeah,
other
thank
questions?
you.
Thank you.
All right, thank you so much. Appreciate that. Okay, nothing else, Dr. Barker?
No, that's it for committee of the whole.
All right, I'll ask for a motion to adjourn.
And move to adjourn?
Second.
All right, thank you, Karen, and thank you, Paul. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All right, we're adjourned. We got 15 minutes before the next meeting.